Mr. President, thank you very, very much for sitting down with us today. I'd like to start by asking you, what can the United States and Iran do to improve the relationship between these two countries and help improve the situation in the region?
I believe that the best approach is to revise the visions that we have with respect to international affairs. If we are able to take a different look at the situation and approach them differently from what we have today, it's quite natural that confrontations will cease, but without that, there will be no cooperation, in fact, because I believe that what is necessary is to connect thoughts and viewpoints, and that will pave the way for larger decisions.
What are you hoping to get across? What message are you hoping you'll be able to send through your speech today at the United Nations?
I like to discuss a series of issues on the agenda for my discussions here. And primarily, I like to emphasize that the world needs a new system. Today's conditions cannot go on the way they are. In other words, the status quo cannot keep. The economic conditions around the world, cultural problems, as well as challenges in the security arena, have reached a point where we can really not take any more of any of it at many levels. In fact, there seems not to be a clear prospect for the future on any of these fronts. So we really do need fundamental changes. And I believe that we must be unanimous in the need for such change in order to bring it about.
In early October, high-ranking members from the Obama administration, along with the permanent members of the UN Security Council and Germany, will meet with members of your government. I understand you are now saying your nuclear program is on the table. What changed your mind?
We have not actually changed our mind. Our nuclear file will be pursued in the IAEA in accordance to international law and based on the need to observe the rights of the people of Iran in this respect. Like the past, we will and shall welcome future talks. And I believe that it can allow us to raise very important issues. For example, to discuss the world economy, world security, and international relations. With respect to international and security issues, in my mind, the banning of biological, chemical, and nuclear weapons is very crucial. I believe that, in fact, it can be a good starting point for further cooperation. In fact, a starting point for working together, in other words. We believe at the same time that we need to enhance ways to allow countries to use clean energies, alternative clean energies in the nuclear field. This can, in fact, be a subject of cooperation for us. And at the same time, we are ready to offer some solutions that take into consideration the needs of mankind in order to resolve the current economic crisis. I think, really, that international relations should be based on friendship and on the principle of justice for all nations. These are issues that can be put on the table for further discussion.
So I'd like to get more specific. You will discuss your country's nuclear program.
بحث خواهیم کرد در موردش در این جلسه. We have a reactor that actually produces nuclear medicine based on radioactive technology. And for that reactor, we need enriched fuel at the level of 20%. We are prepared to speak about it and purchase the fuel if it is available to us. So this can be a good issue to discuss as well.
You claim you are developing peaceful nuclear energy. If that's the case, why does Iran continue to block full inspections of all nuclear facilities?
We have not blocked that inspection. In fact, if you look at the numerous reports issued by the International Atomic Energy Agency, it indicates that the agency has access to our facilities and that, in fact, it has not seen any deviation from the peaceful path with respect to our program. But I'd like to ask you, exactly which country in the world does possess the nuclear bomb today? So, in other words, which country should be controlled? Those that have nuclear bombs and have in fact used it in the past? Or countries that really don't have a bomb? Well, what's the point of controlling countries that don't have a bomb? I mean, how can we really help humanity? How can we help promote security? I think what really matters is to destroy the stockpile of nuclear weapons that already exist. There are countries with factories that are producing nuclear warheads day and night. And I think that's where the inspections are necessary.
The International Atomic Energy Agency, Mr. President, has complained that they have not been given full access to all your facilities. And inspectors confirmed that Iran had 1,300 centrifuges. Last November, you said you had 5,000. And a recent report leaked from the IAEA says you have, quote, sufficient information to design and produce a workable implosion nuclear device. Yet you continue to refute this. Why?
Could you please let me know where was this report by the agency in fact released or published? How come is it that we haven't really read about it? I mean, if you can just give me the number for the report and the date it was issued, I could take a look at it.
I'm sure we can make that available to you.
I would appreciate that if you could make sure you do, because based on the last official report by the agency issued in September, it was said that Iran had not deviated from its peaceful nuclear path. You see, the question I raised was quite simple and clear. There are countries that have 10,000 nuclear warheads. Don't you believe that those are the ones that need to be inspected instead of the countries that don't have them? I mean, which one is more dangerous for the world? And which country should exactly be concerned here? Should Iran be concerned? Or the ones that possess 10,000 nuclear bombs? I think it's us who has to be concerned, who needs to be concerned, and that's exactly why we are calling for the banning of nuclear weapons around the world. I believe that, in fact, we need to revisit our outlook on this subject. The way different states approach the subject should fundamentally change.
What countries are you referring to, Mr. President?
Well, the country that we're in right now.
And we have signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, as your country has.
But then if that's the case, to which country do these 10,000 nuclear warheads belong? I mean, there are countries that are producing the fourth generation of nuclear bombs. I think it's the U.S. government that is doing it, as well as some other member states of the UN Security Council. I think that approaching world affairs as such is has to change. There is international law, and if it's there, it's for everyone. And if we want justice we have to want it for everyone. We believe that all nuclear weapons have to be banned. And at the same time that all nations should have access to peaceful nuclear energy. It's quite clear, our position.
Except some might say Iran is the largest sponsor or the biggest perpetrator of state-sponsored terrorism and has produced inflammatory rhetoric along the lines that Israel should be blown off the map. Given those things, can you understand the concern the international community may have about Iran in particular?
We have, I believe, very good relations with different countries around the world, with nations around the world. We have very sincere and friendly relations. We do not define our lives based on what others say about us. We define our lives based on the truth about our lives and based on the principle of the need to follow the law and to reach out a hand of friendship to others. It was quite clear who supports and sponsors terrorists these days. I mean, it's a question that's quite clear. I mean, the terrorists in Afghanistan and Iraq, I ask you, are they more powerful today compared to before the invasion of these two countries by U.S. and NATO troops? We all know that the terrorists in those two states are much stronger today than they were before. And the production of illicit drugs has actually tripled or even quadrupled on many levels. So what we are trying to say is that militaristic policies around the world will not offer a solution to the problems confronting us. From the first day that U.S. forces entered Iraq and Afghanistan, hundreds of thousands of people have lost their lives. So who exactly is the terrorist here? Let's speak about the bombs that have been dropped over the homes of people, on villages, and even on wedding receptions. Whose bombs are these? So who exactly is the terrorist here? In Gaza, there are thousands of tons of bombs that have been dropped over the heads of people there. 1,300 women and children lost their lives there. And defenseless people. So who exactly is the terrorist here? Those who announce beforehand and name people and say that we are out there to assassinate them? Who exactly is the terrorist here? Just recently I was threatened too. I heard about it. Some European politicians and American politicians actually said that there was a threat on me. So who is the terrorist here? Who is the terrorist? I mean, with respect to Palestine, I've always raised a very clear question. What I'm saying is that we need to ask ourselves, where did the events of World War II happen? Well, the answer is it happened in Europe. So who killed 60 million people during World War II? It were people that belonged to the European governments of the time. Some European governments at the time. So what does this have to do with the Palestinian people? Why do we use the murders of World War II as a pretext to kill Palestinian people now? So the questions I ask are clear ones.